Hey guys, it's Colby from Stone Glacier. Today I'm going to take you through my pack and some of my gear that I would use for a 5-day mountain mule deer hunt. I guess it'd be 4 nights, 5 days. But I'll start with on the outside, stuff I'd be wearing on person. Binos, tend to use the FHF gear harness. Got the Vortex Razor binos inside. Some little things like a lighter, some earplugs, and some wind checker. Got my orange, of course. This is going to be a rifle hunt that I'm walking you through. Some light gloves. I'll usually keep these in the pants pockets for easy access. Have these on pretty frequently throughout the day. On my top, I've got the Helio Stone Glacier hoodie. For a base layer, I've got the OR, really lightweight, just a polyester base layer, really breathable. And then on the pants, of course, I've got the de Havilland Stone Glacier pants. So I like to keep it pretty light. You'll see in my pack I got stuff that I can layer up with, but for the most part, I like to start out pretty light if I'm hiking, so I don't have to take stuff off and on pretty frequently. As far as the pack goes, this is a Stone Glacier Sky 5900. Right now it's pretty compressed into what I'd call bivy mode. It's got a top portion that would expand up if you need it to go a little bit further. One thing I'll note as far as food, I've got just 1 day's rationing I was going to show you guys. So for a full 5 days, it'd be expanded up a little bit more. But as far as other base gear, it's pretty typical with what I take with me on most hunts if I'm going to be going overnight. So I guess I'll start you with everything on the outside and then we'll work our way to the inside. In my hip pocket here, this is a large Stone Glacier hip pocket. In here I've got my bino adapter for my tripod. If you've never used that before, I definitely recommend it. It's a really good way to keep stable and be able to glass for a lot longer. I've got my Phoenix headlamp, or Phoenix, however you pronounce that. This is a rechargeable. And then I've just got some extra shells. Yeah, usually I don't take this. I'll usually just take the plastic shell that comes in the box. I'll just throw that in there, but for now I've got that. And then on this side, I've got a water bottle in my hydro holster. This is one of my favorite Stone Glacier accessories. If you've never used it, highly recommend it. It's really easy to get to. And once you get it situated right, it's totally out of the way. You can forget about it. Tripod, this is a slick tripod, nothing special. This is their aluminum, just one of their lighter weight tripods they make. And then this guy is the Razor 50 millimeter, their small guy. It's 11 to 33, I believe. Yep. And then, kind of a silly thing, but I like to have an eye patch with me. If I'm going to be spending, any amount of time behind this, it definitely helps with the eye strain. But that being said, usually I use my binos for stuff. That's why I rock such a smaller one, just because if I have my bigger one, I tend not bring it for the weight. But I do have that as an option if I'm going to be hunting somewhere that I'm going to be planning on glassing farther away. For everything I'm doing mule deer hunting, this is going to be more than efficient for that. So, and then on the top of my lid, this guy, to be honest with you, I just kind of run it as a removable seat. On the inside, I've got a piece of foam that I cut to fit that. And so if I'm going to be sitting down glassing, I can just pull this off the back really quick. And then I've got male, female buckles, so I can throw this around my waist. So now I've got a seat that can move with me up and down the mountain if I'm working a ridgeline or something and not have to worry about it blowing away if I stand up or something like that. So that's really all I've used it for. In the past, I've used it for carrying camera gear if I'm going to have that. But you'll see I've kind of moved to a different solution anymore. I tend to just use my cell phone for a lot of stuff. So as of now, that is my seat. Take this off. All right. right, and then as we get into the inside of the bag, start with this front pocket. Got some thicker gloves. Again, this is kind of a late season mule deer type hunt that I'm gonna be going on, so I'll tend to be using these pretty frequently when I'm sitting down glassing. And then I've got the toiletries bag. Want quick access to that guy if you need it. In this, I just keep TP, hand sanitizer, some baby wipes, and then I also keep my fire there, just because it's a bag that I have to keep accessible. So if I'm gonna be building a fire, I have to dig through my pack to get my fire starter and get that going. Empty bladder. This is something when I'm hiking in, if I know there's gonna be water there, I usually just keep this empty and I'll just fill it up when I get there to cut down on weight. Otherwise, if it's a new spot, I'm unsure at all, I'll just fill this up usually at least halfway so I've got something to get me by until I find water. There are definitely spots that I go into where I know there's not a lot of water, so then I'll fill this up and take it in full, as long with my full Nalgene. On the inside, I got one last thing here. This is my rain cover. Typically, I leave this at home. These bags are so water resistant as it is, and if I'm going to be in super heavy rain, I'll just tuck myself under a tree or something. But I have found that if you're going to go on something like a 5-7 day hunt, this is a really light insurance policy to keep you from getting too soaked and, worst case scenario, have to go back. So on all my longer trips, I definitely bring a rain cover. And then on the inside of the bag here, this is one of the main reasons I like this bag. This main access, you have a big horseshoe zip. So when you fold this open, you can see everything in your pack really well. Makes it easy to get stuff in and out. When you're packing up camp, you can stack stuff in really easily. So this zipper access is one of the main reasons I rock this bag and I like it so much. I guess before we get to that, my tent, I do keep this strapped onto the bottom. This will just free up a lot of room to the inside of your pack. It's got this waterproof bag on it as it is, so does well out there. This is the Skyscraper 2P tent from Stone Glacier. This thing is bomb, guys. I love this thing. It's really spacious. For a 4-season tent, it's really lightweight. And then it's got some modular options too. So if you want to run this same tent for your summer setup, you can run like a mesh insert on the inside rather than the late season tent body, and you can get a lot of use out of it. Scoot that stuff down the way. All right, getting into my main bag. So I like to run systems. So I think in my pack is I've got my sleep system, which would be my sleeping bag. I do keep this in a dry bag. It's a dry bag compression sack. Just again, if you're gonna go on a multi-day hunt, you don't want any type of freak accident if you fall in the river or something like that to ruin your trip. So this is a 0-degree bag. I tend to run this for a lot of the stuff that I do. A lot of the stuff's in the mountains, so even in September when you're elk hunting, it's pretty common to see sub-freezing days. So this has been a good bag for that, and if I do get hot, I can just fillet it open and cool off that way. For my pad, use a REI air rail. Been using this thing for years. It's very comfortable. So compared to other options out there, it's a little bit more bulky. I'd say this is one area in my pack where I tend to splurge a little bit as far as size and weight goes. I just have found that sleeping well through the night really transforms to the next day and the energy that you have. So I really like this pad. If anything, it is definitely a one spot that I could probably look to upgrade, but for now, this thing has treated me really well for years. And on the inside, I do have a little inflatable pillow that I keep wrapped up with it. This one, I believe is, let's see here, what is this? Sea to Summit. And this comes in 2 different sizes. This is the smaller of the 2. So the smaller one I found is easier if you're gonna tuck it in your sleeping bag. It stays in there a little bit better, stays put. The big one has a little bit of an issue getting squeezed inside of there if you're gonna be fully mummied up. But really easy to inflate, just blow into it, open it up to deflate it really quick. So I've also loved that. Rest of my gear, clothing, over the years, I just found, I used to start by just taking all this extra clothing, extra t-shirt for every other day or whatnot. And over time, you realize that you just don't end up changing. So I do bring extra socks for every day. I think that's one key to being comfortable, is just putting on a fresh pair of socks every day is really big. So I will bring a set for each day that I'm out there. One extra pair of underwear. These are wool. They're Duckworth. So I found those to be good. And to be honest, these even, I know it's gross, but I honestly probably wouldn't even swap these. So they're there if I need them though. And then I do have my Helio bottoms as well. So if I wake up and it's a cold morning in the mountains, I'll definitely throw these on with my de Havilons. They've got the full leg vents on them, so throughout the day, if I am running these, I can vent them all the way down. And then as far as extra layers go as well, only other thing I've got really is my Grumman for an insulation layer if I'm maybe glassing, or I'm just back at camp hanging out and it's getting colder. And then my rain jacket. This is going to be a multi-purpose thing for me. If it's super cold and windy and I'm wearing this is a nice windbreaker piece. And then obviously it's going to be my rain gear as well if I need that. Typically I'm not going to bring rain gear bottoms. If I'm going to be somewhere where I know the weather forecast is going to be super wet, then of course I will, just to have them, but I try not to bring them if I don't need to. I've just found that I can usually get by without them, and yeah, I don't know, it's just one thing that I've omitted to just be a little bit lighter and more compact. And then getting into my kits here. So I've got one that's going to be a kill kit. This guy, I'm only pulling out when I've got my animal down. This is a camp pocket from Stone Glacier that I'm using to keep everything organized. I've got a Havilon with some extra blades in there. Got my game bags, everything I would need to take care of a deer. Honestly, probably even an extra bag or two. Most of the times I'm going to be deboning my deer, so you can get that out in relatively few game bags. Space blanket, kind of a weird item, but I think you can pick these up for like 99 cents at Sportsman's, and just have found that once you get your quarter off, if you're not able to hang it in a tree or something, this is a really lightweight option just to keep your meat clean. Lay it on the ground and throw your quarters on it. Got my tags, of course. These are from last year. And then I do like to bring some gloves. Some people don't. That's fine. Throw that in there. This is going to be like my camp bag is what I call it, even though it's a swing out pocket. This is going to be what basically lives in my tent. So if I have a base camp set up, often I don't have this in my pack. It's just staying back at camp. This is going to be everything I need at night. I wear contacts. I've got my contact solution, my contact case. For those of you that do not have to wear contacts, you are very gifted. Anybody that knows me knows I love my toothpicks. Got a little toothbrush kit. Some moleskin to take care of the feet if need be. And then my glasses. I always bring these as like an emergency set of eyes for me, because if I, God forbid, lose my contacts or whatever, I'm blind. So I do carry these with me just so I've got them if I need them. For grizzly country, I've got a couple weird things that I do. I tend to bring earplugs and an Advil PM. Some people might say that's not very smart, but man, these things put you to sleep if you're solo in the backcountry. So I think it's worth it. Maybe a little dangerous, but I like to believe I could still wake up. And then I still have some just normal Advil if need be too. So that's about the extent of my medical kit as well. Maybe not the smartest, but that's what we got. Throw that back in there. All right, and then this bag here, this is kind of all my electronics. So this is a Cordura camp pocket. Stone Glacier also sells this. I just found for all these electronic items that are a little heavier, This bag's gonna have more structure to it, so I like to run this for all that stuff. This bag doesn't have any Velcro, so when you get this bag, it usually has a Velcro slab on there to slap onto some of our bags that do. I just cut that off so that it's not scratching on the X-Pack or anything like that. Super easy to do. On the inside, I've got my SteriPin if I'm gonna be doing any water purification. For my solo hunts, again, kind of getting back to me, getting away from my bigger camera that I use. This is a little device you can take your phone and it actually will mount in there. So for all your trophy photos, it's a nice little accessory. You can do self-timer, get your trophy photo to show your buddies. This thing is super light. I've never weighed it, but I'd guess it's maybe an ounce or two. Very lightweight. Then Yahtzee game. So this guy, if you're ever stuck in bad weather or you're in the tent at night and you're just trying to pass some time, as silly as it seems, this thing has got me through many nights. So I always bring that, a little entertainment for myself. I've got my Garmin InReach. This is the mini. I know some guys use the bigger one, but with the app nowadays, it syncs to your phone as far as like being able to text and stuff. I really don't see any reason to have the bigger one, so I just run the little guy. I do have a phone charger, especially on those hunts where I'm going to be using my Onyx a lot. This is just going to help be able to keep that going. And then here, this is my new camera that I've invested in. So these are some lenses that are made by a company called Moment. And when you open these up, I've got two here. I've got a wide angle, and then I've got a like a close-up lens, fisheye type lens. And so these guys, you just open up. Got a little screen cover on them. But they take your phone case. There's a special phone case they'll send you. And these just twist into your phone case here. And now you've got a little lens, so you can do a lot with these. The camera on your phones are really advanced. So for everything I'm doing nowadays, I've found these to be a cool little investment to replace some of the heavier DSLR cameras out there. Especially when I was solo, I just found that couldn't quite justify the weight. I wasn't taking it out enough, and this still allows you to get some of those cool shots that you might want to get, and honestly you'll get them more frequently because it's easier to access these than pull out a camera and do all that. So do run those. And then the last thing here will be my food setup. So I like to keep this in a load cell dry bag, again, Stone Glacier. This is going to be multi-function. So for right now, it's got all my food organized. If I get an animal down, and like I said, I'm going to debone it, then rather than using my like mesh game bags, this has a lot more structure to it. So at this point, I'll repurpose it to be my new game bag. Like to keep the paracord tied onto it. So if I am in grizzly country, I can just get to camp, pull this out, it's ready to go, throw it over a tree really quick. You're not fussing with getting stuff organized. Got a jet boil. If I'm going to be boiling up any meals, this is my go-to. Keep my lighter just in the bottom there. And then all your basic stuff, spoon, all the gas and all that stuff's on the inside. So here's an example of what I would have for one day of being out in the field. At night, I will do a warm meal. It's just a good pick-me-up, and if anything too, it's nice you can throw it in your sleeping bag and kind of warm you up as you get your night going. And then this is my daily food ration, so I usually just wrap it up with some saran wrap to keep it organized. And for the day, when I'm going out hunting, I'll just pull this out of my bear hang or whatever, and I'll just have this with me. I'm not lugging around my full kit. And so in here, I've got It's called a Green Belly Meal. These are a pretty cool meal replacement. They've got 1/3 of your daily needs. So whether it's breakfast or lunch, I'll usually mix this in somewhere with one of those meals. And then with that being dinner, the opposite will be here. So this tends to be more snack stuff. I guess honestly in the mornings I'm usually never super hungry. I'll usually crush a Blocks and like a honey stinger just to get some food in my stomach and get some energy in me. But then the rest of this stuff I'm just kind of constantly snacking on through the rest of the day. Got some jerky, more honey stingers, these Bobo bars. These are pretty high calorie. This one here is 500 calories, so that's a nice little pick-me-up right there. And then I'll have another energy block. So between all that, that's honestly sufficient for me. As far as calorie breakdown, I've never laid it out, but with these meal replacements and then these mountain houses at night, which you're putting down nearly 1,000 calories, it's been more than enough with me. And honestly, usually I don't even go through all this. So definitely losing some weight in the mountains. But yeah, that's it as far as the pack goes. If you guys want any of this gear, we'll be making a gear list, I'm sure, to put up on the website. But most of this stuff is found on the Stone Glacier website, and you can pick it up there. Thanks.